Hello everybody, I'm Tony Craig, this is F1 Grandstand and this is your daily Formula One news. And in particular, it's Friday Night Live, baby. I hope you are sat down, relaxed and are ready for a good one because Mercedes are in big trouble. The Power Unit Advisory Committee met yesterday and Mercedes are in trouble. Also, tell you who else might be in trouble. Racing Bulls team principal Alain Permain has been speaking openly about his doubts about Liam Lawson, and Ollie Bearman also says some negative things about the 26 cars. But I'm not going to lie, this show is going to be pretty much dominated by what is going on with Mercedes. It's going to take a minute to unpick all of this. So yes, if you're an F1 fan, of course, you're in the right place. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you do enjoy the video, please smash a like on it. And if you're watching right now, smash a like on it. It does wonders for the channel. And if you are going to subscribe, make sure you've got the bell all icon ticked. That way you can keep up to date with all of our content and you decide which bits of content that you interact with. So yeah, Friday night, and it's been a big Friday. I'm not gonna lie, in the Formula One news window, because you know the story I said I'd never want to talk about again. I'm talking about it again, but don't shoot me because there's reasons. We are reacting to all the stuff that's been going on in the news today, and there's a lot of it. So first of all, just let me say a quick hello to the chat. Oh, we've got lots of you in there tonight. Old guy chat, yes. The man flu. I am starting to recover, I think. Hey, Gemma, queen of the chat. We've got Reevesy in there. Brilliant. Merca cooked in hot water. Yes, they are, Gemma. Oh, yes, they are. It's not looking good. And wait till you get to the saucy bit. You're going to find out who holds the knife that could be the final dagger in Mercedes. It's fascinating. Who else we got in here tonight? Oh, Josie, yes. Gisette, nice to have you in there. Jaman's in there as well. Reevesy, never tried yoga? You need to try yoga. It's good for you, apparently. Thane's in there. Hello, what's up, party people? Hey, Thane, good to have you in there. Thane wants a bit of yoga. I can't help you with yoga tonight. Just Dave's in there as well. Flax. Dern is in there. How are you, my friend? Crackite's in there. He's made it. He's done a job and knock, so he's got home early so he can watch the show. I love it. Brilliant. Hey, Kevin. Brilliant. Nice you in there, Kevin, as well. And if you are watching for the first time, say hello, get in the chat and say hello. Very friendly bunch because we've got a lot to get into. So let me tell you what happened today. So today, I'm flicking through the Formula One socials like you do, and I'm thinking, you know, because you see some things on Twitter, or X as it's called now, and go, is that real? Is that real? So my day started off like this afternoon. I saw Holiness, who obviously actually, they always they're pretty reliable. And they started saying, according to Autosprint, the FIA have decided to change the way in which compression ratio measurements are carried out. Basically, the FIA are deciding to change the way. At the moment, the rules say they're going to measure compression ratio at ambient temperatures, which everyone was quite happy with, apart, you know, especially Mercedes. Well, not everyone was happy with. Mercedes were happy with. And now they want to measure them at race temperatures. Now, that's not in the rules right now. So Mercedes are thinking, well, this is great because we've interpreted our engine build from the current regulations. We know they're not going to measure our engine compression ratio at race temperatures. So it doesn't matter if we've got trick pistons and conrods. It doesn't matter if we're really exploiting thermodynamics to allow us to get an 18-to-1 compression ratio at race temperatures, because we know the rules say they're not going to get measured at race temperatures. Well, this is where it gets interesting. So I read that and thought, no, it can't be true because the FIA have signed off on Mercedes engine. They've basically given Mercedes, Mercedes delivered their drawings and been signed off. And basically the FIA is saying, well, you know, the Mercedes engine is okay. And then what I see is this. And then I start seeing La Gazette Ferrari saying the same thing, that they are going to be looking to change the checks from cold to hot, starting in Australia, which is the 7th of March. And now my interest is peaking. Is there something in this? Is something actually changing? And then we dig further. And then we get into actual news outlets covering it. So we need to get into it because there's a lot more pieces to this puzzle than just measuring at what temperature and what needs to happen for that to happen. And can it happen for Australia? And if it does happen for Australia, what does it mean for Mercedes? Because Mercedes basically know they're going to get caught out, as they would be in breach of the rules if they're allowed to be measured at hot temperatures. Anyway, so let's get into it. So that sets it up, but this is fascinating. So we're going to look at what Autosport have said. So it all comes down to the rival manufacturers, okay? So the rival manufacturers are working on plans to get the compression ratio checks adjusted ahead of the F1 season. Any change would require a supermajority. Remember that word, very important, including support from the FIA. Now, as I mentioned before, the ratio between cylinder volume with the piston at the bottom of its stroke and at the top of its stroke was 18:1 under previous regulations, but has been reduced to 16:1 for 2026. Basically, partly to make it more accessible for newcomers. Now, Mercedes can comply with a 16:1 compression ratio during static tests at ambient temperatures, but the rumour is that they achieve a higher ratio at race temperatures while the car is running. And here's what happened. Audi, Ferrari and Honda jointly sent a letter to the FIA to ask for clarification. But after an initial meeting of technical experts on the 22nd of January, the federation did not immediately appear to be planning any intervention. And that's the meeting that happened in Barcelona. Now, Audi, Ferrari and Honda weren't happy with that. Plot continues. There's new meetings that have taken place this week, and that included the Power Unit Advisory Committee yesterday. And again, the compression ratio was high on the agenda. And here's the thing. A supermajority, which I mentioned earlier, is a very important word, because Ferrari, Audi and Honda would not equate to a supermajority. Because what they want is the rules to be changed on how the compression ratio test is performed. Now, testing it under hot conditions would provide a more representative picture and expose any differences. So, based on the Power Unit Advisory Committee's governance itself, a supermajority in there is required for any change in procedure. This means that 4 of the 5 manufacturers, the engine manufacturers, the FIA and F1 must all agree as a first step of the process. In that respect, let me show you what this says. And this is where it gets very interesting. Red Bull hold the deciding vote, because Red Bull could become, or have become, and join the petition with Ferrari, Honda, and I do still have a little bit of man flu. Ferrari, Honda, and Audi. So Red Bull were thought to be taking advantage of the same loophole. And this is what's happened. Red Bull found out about Mercedes engine development hack or build when Red Bull Powertrains took 212 engineers from Mercedes to Red Bull Powertrains. And they took those people, 18 months ago. The only thing is, Red Bull and Honda haven't actually managed to exploit it the same way that Mercedes have done. And now they're happy to join the petition to form the supermajority to have the way that the compression ratio testing is done changed. Which is crazy because it means that Red Bull are holding the final cards to make this happen. And they are pushing for this to happen by Australia on the 7th of March. So Red Bull's stance is the position of the FIA and the F1 are crucial. Both organisations usually vote with a unified front when it comes to technical matters. As mentioned, the FIA initially saw no reason to intervene, but after yesterday's meeting, it's a matter of waiting for the Federation's updated view. When asked, an FIA spokesman said the matter is still under discussion internally. And you're going to have to wait for an update. So these conversations are taking place. Here's the next problem, the next piece of the puzzle. Time ticking ahead of the homologation deadline. If the measurement procedure is revised, it could have far-reaching consequences. It would not only affect the sporting picture, but it's closely linked to the homologation date. The 2026 engines will be homologated on the 1st of March, leaving little to no time for any adjustments if required, especially given engine-related changes typically require a long lead time. Now, if you listen to Hodgkinson, who is the head of Red Bull Powertrains, he says it's 12 weeks to design the change, 12 weeks to test the change, and 12 weeks to implement. Well, how long have we got till the 1st of March? Less than a month. So if they pass this, that means Mercedes engines, which are in Mercedes, McLaren, Williams and Alpine, will all have to be changed and homologated on the 1st of March. They will have to have a new design agreed in place by the 1st of March. And this is what the Mercedes president has said. And not Toto Wolff, we're talking about the Mercedes president, as in brand Mercedes globally. He has basically said that if they go through with this, even if they have a supermajority that want to change the way they test the compression ratio, then they will go to court. They will not accept that change. So who wins in this situation? The regulations clearly state that if a supermajority of the engine manufacturers want to make a change, meaning Red Bull, Audi, Honda, and Ferrari all agree, well then that is grounds for a procedural change. And that is a supermajority. So what the hell happens next? I don't know. But Mercedes really are in trouble. We heard Toto Wolff say earlier in the week, they just need to get on with it and get over it and get their own shit together. I think that's probably pissed a few people off. Toto Wolff saying, get your shit together, stop moaning, concentrate on your own cars. Well, now all the teams are pulling together and saying, well, actually, we're not going to let you get away with it. And why should we have to redevelop all our engines to catch up to you when actually we feel what you're doing is effectively a rule break? And if it's not a rule break, well then what does it matter if we measure the compression ratio at race temperatures? Because we're happy to do it because we've not exceeded a 16:1 compression ratio. I mean, it's wild that this could actually be happening this close to the start of the season. And also, the FIA are in trouble as well because they've had the drawings. They've had all the CAD drawings from Mercedes. Mercedes have got receipts from the FIA saying this is okay. The meeting on the 22nd of January in Barcelona, the outcome of that was they're not going to intervene at this time and they're going to let it play out. Obviously, because it's a problem when you've got 4 teams basically running, that's 8 cars on the grid running the Mercedes power unit. It's chaos is what it is. It's chaos. And what is going to happen? I'm going to go to the chat because hopefully you've been following this. What do you think? But this is chaos for Mercedes. I'm going to try and catch up. Yeah, so Thomas Dickinson, nice to have in the chat, buddy. Classic F1 political shitstorm just in time for Oz. Exactly. It's please get your super chats in because it's easier for me to read them, by the way, because the chat's going crazy tonight. Thane says, Mike turn into the Alpine of the generation. It's not looking good. Thomas Dickinson says, Ferrari, clever fuel flow trick in 2019, banned through extra sense in race conditions. Exactly. And that got banned. They didn't allow that to go through, did they? And that resulted in 2 years, no wins, 2021. The compressor should have the same treatment. Exactly that. We are looking at a similar situation to 2019. Ferrari, they were penalised for that engineering solution. Only this time, it affects 4 teams, 8 cars. It's absolutely crazy. So Jaman says, it's true, these regulations can be changed only with majority of the teams, which I think they've got, the FIA and the FOM, Liberty Media. What if the hot testing is considered a change of rules? Well, this is considered a change of testing, which is a change of rules, because they do. So my understanding is this. They've ticked the box of a supermajority. That's 4 out of 5 power unit manufacturers all saying, we want to change how you test. They're not asking for a change. And here's the thing. They're only asking for a change in how you test for your compliance of your rule. They're not asking for a change of the rule, are they? They're saying your rule is 16:1 compression ratio. The way you test for that, we're not happy with that. We want a more effective test at hot temperatures. And they can deliver that can be done, and it can be done as early as Melbourne. So they're not really asking for a change of the rule necessary. It's this grey area. They're asking a way of how you test for compliance of your rule. And that's very different, isn't it? Because Mercedes were taking advantage to say, well, you told us how you were going to test for your, you've told us how you're going to test for compliance. Well, and we will pass the test. Now they're asking for a change of the test. So that would mean that Mercedes would be effectively caught cheating. And that's the difference. I mean, it's crazy. Chef says, at this point, teams should understand how important it is to understand how to interpret the rules equally. At this point, the FIA should know how to properly write their rules. And I think, really, Chef, it goes more than that. How can another team complain about how the FIA test for compliance of one of their rules? Because that's all we're talking about here. We're not asking for a change in a rule. They're only saying how we test for compliance of that rule. It is wild. Gisette says F1 management really is at fault. Why they waited less than a week prior to Bahrain? What's interesting is that they had that meeting in Barcelona on the 22nd, where they had an opportunity to try and do something, and they just said, no, we're going to let it ride. And I think something's happened. All teams got to see the other teams, didn't they? Red Bull were out there. Red Bull didn't put any quick lap times in. They were effective in reliability, which I think would have been a big question mark for Red Bull powertrains, making their first engine. Audi had their own problems, but they still managed to do a reasonable amount of laps. It's only Honda really, and they didn't get any laps in. They did 56 laps, so we still a big question mark about Honda's reliability. But do you know, all of this is good news for Ferrari. The real winner here is Ferrari, because Ferrari not only showed they had the pace in Barcelona, they put the fastest lap time in, they showed they had reliability, and actually, for all of my Ferrari bashing at the end of last season, that Ferrari, the engine doesn't sound like it's going to be any good, steel cylinder head, why have they gone with that direction? Actually, all of this is pointing like great news for Ferrari. Because Ferrari is sitting pretty and their customer teams are sitting pretty. Cadillac, great news for them. Great news for Haas. And I did say Haas are going to be the dark horse, actually, going into 26. So I think Ferrari are the big winner here. And if Ferrari have managed to wrangle out what Audi were already in, I can't even speak. Honda were already in, and now they've got Red Bull joining the petition. It's like the real winner of all of those, I think, is going to be Ferrari over anybody else. I'm going to try and keep up with this chat. It's going bonkers tonight. But yeah, it's absolutely wild. Nez Priddle says, what the request from those teams, the FIA has placed in a corner, and logically they may have to change their way and their testing procedures. Yeah, because great to have you in there, Nazi Priddle. Nice to have you in the chat, buddy. But yeah, because the thing is, no one was expecting this. I think that the FIA were thinking, do you know what? With their additional upgrade opportunities that they're going to offer, I honestly feel the FIA initially thought that the other teams would take the additional upgrade opportunities to try and catch up to Mercedes. And I think all the teams have gone, do you know what? That's not good enough. It's going to take us 6 months to redevelop all of our engines. And hang on a minute. Together, we're a supermajority. So why should we be scrambling around, redesigning our engines to try and catch up to Mercedes with their, which actually could be seen as a rule break if they're measured at race temperatures, when actually, no, we should get together and go, no, if anyone's changing their engines, why should us 4 manufacturers have to really redesign our entire engine when it's Mercedes are the ones that are possibly at fault? So Mercedes, you should redesign your engines. Yes, you've got 3 customer teams and your own team. Well, tough shit. And I think that's what's going on. Excuse me. And what makes it even funnier is that it's Red Bull who couldn't achieve the same effect and have gone, oh shit, we our engine's not as good as the Mercedes engine. We've not managed this. We'll join the other teams as a supermajority, which is just now Mercedes. Because if Red Bull, and I think this is what Mercedes were banking on, if Red Bull had achieved the same benefit that Mercedes had, they would have been able, that would have meant the Mercedes were safe. But it's the turncoats of Red Bull who weren't getting involved, and who've, after Barcelona, decided to get involved. It's changed everything. Because before that, just between Mercedes and Red Bull, their vote was safe. You know, the engines would have been, they would not be able to change the procedure on how they test for the compression ratios. So it all comes down to Mercedes really doing the dirty. Well, on Mercedes again, actually, we took your engineers, we knew what you were doing, and we couldn't achieve it. And when we saw your engines, your power units in Barcelona, I mean, those engines did over 1,000 laps, and we know they didn't have the wick turned up to 100, and we know they were sandbagging, because of course they would. They don't want to announce to the world that, hey, our engines are so far ahead of you guys, because they didn't want this to happen. They showed enough for Red Bull to go, oh, bollocks. Right? And that's what's happened. So now we're in this situation where we're like, what do the FIA do? What do they actually do now? They can't kick the can down the road. And because there is a power unit advisory committee that sit alongside within the FIA, where those guys can not only petition, but can get regulation change passed through with a supermajority. And here's the big thing. If the FIA don't back the supermajority's request to change the way they test for compliance of the FIA rule of a 16:1 compression ratio, how can they argue that? So when you look at the box that needs to be ticked, the supermajority's ticked. They need the committee, the Power Unit Advisory Committee, well, they have to go along with it. And the FIA need to be involved, and they have to support that change as well, because if they don't, if the FIA do not support the change in the way they test, that sounds like corruption to me. That does not sound right, does it? if the FIA don't support the way that all of those supermajority want to change, to test for the FIA's rule, the compliance check for their rule of a 16:1 compression ratio, you've got to hold your hands up and go, what the hell is going on? That sounds like the FIA are corrupt. It's that if the FIA stop it, it's bad. It's so bad that the integrity of Formula One becomes in question. The FIA cannot not go with the supermajority. That would be outrageous because they're basically backing Mercedes. And why would you do that compared to the other 4 power unit manufacturers? It would be outrageous. It honestly would be outrageous if the FIA don't back it. I can't see them not backing it. I'm going to go to the chat. Sula Chanik says, look how it's backfired at Mercedes. Remember Toto's argument in the ground effect era. Exactly. Reedsy said, probably the most exciting year for F1 has just been completely ruined. No, it hasn't. What's happened is we're now going to see... I mean, I don't think it's been ruined. I think it's actually... If Mercedes have to go and redesign their engine, I think what it means is, the biggest thing about this is, Ferrari could be back, baby, right? Ferrari have brought an engine which looks super reliable, pretty darn quick, right? I mean, Fred Vasseur could have saved his job. Hamilton could be, you know, hammer time again. Charles Leclerc could have a chance of winning the World Drivers' Championship. Honda engine might be perfectly competitive. And Audi might not be that far behind the curve. And those teams, those customer teams that have gone to Mercedes, Williams, who didn't even make it to Barcelona and relying on all that beautiful data they got from the power unit from Mercedes, could be totally in the shit, right? Alpine could be in trouble. And all of a sudden, Alpine's overinflated share price of being worth 2.5 billion. Well, I think we could see a change in that for a start. Christian Horner, if he's trying to buy Alpine, could be rubbing his hands together and go, do you know that offer we were talking, right? You've been dragging your feet on the 24% shares from Otro Capital. Well, now your engine's shit, right? The offer of 600 million, I'll give you 400 million. I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen from this. There's so many sort of the butterfly effect of ripple effect could spread out into all sort of different places, and I think it's interesting. Drop Tune says, Thane, did you hear that Max has ditched the Merc GT car and taken the Mustang instead? It's true. That's big news. Is that true? Hasn't he? The whole grid's going to be flipped if this gets passed. Mercedes and its customers are going to be at the back of the grid. But maybe that's what should happen. Maybe that in the essence, but maybe in fairness, that is what should happen. And by the way, lots of you watching right now, please smash a like on the video. It makes a huge difference to the success of the channel. If you haven't subscribed yet as well, please do subscribe to the channel. It makes a huge difference. And I thank you all for your support. Thank you so much. And also, if you're watching and you haven't said hello to the chat, get in the chat. Tell us where you're watching from. They are the friendliest community here and you're in the right place. Trust me. Semagalese says, I only blame Mercedes and Toto for boasting their advantage. They shot themselves on their own foot. Exactly. They were cocky. I mean, Mercedes was so confident about their power unit. You know, Toto Wolff saying, you know, we're going to be going... And the other thing, quote Toto Wolff, he said, the 26 cars, the biggest differentiating factor is going to be the power unit, where the ground effect era was all about the aero. We're going back to like it was in 2014 when Mercedes were dominant. It was all about the power unit. And he said, yes, we're going back to where the power unit will be the difference. Yeah, it will be. Not your power unit by the looks of it. Maybe not yours. Kevin says, would Red Bull end up with a free upgrade due to the same thing? Maybe they have an issue they want to change. Well, Red Bull... Here's the thing, for Red Bull to join the supermajority, they must be damn confident that their engine doesn't operate at 18:1 compression ratio at race temperatures. So, to answer your question, the additional upgrade opportunities are on offer to any power unit manufacturer who was 3% behind the engine who's in front, right? So if Mercedes was allowed to go through, and anyone that was sort of 3% behind the curve from Mercedes, they were going to be given additional upgrade opportunities. So they're not going to need them now, are they? I guess, because the other engine manufacturers will probably be more similar in power output. Reliability is going to be a question mark, but if they didn't manage to generate the 18-to-1 compression ratio, which was going to be worth about 0.3 a second per lap, then there probably won't be somebody who's 3% behind the leading power unit manufacturer. Mercedes is the one that need the problem. Mercedes is the one that have to redesign their, because it's not just the block, the cylinder block. With Mercedes, apparently, they've done some really clever stuff with their con rods. I mean, I'm not an engineer, but apparently they've done some really trick stuff with the internals of the engine. So all that will have to change. My Crypto Space, brilliant. So glad to see you in the chat there, my friend. You are very welcome in this community. It is exciting for F1. It is. And I go back to one of your earlier points. And it was, 2019, Ferrari had an engineering solution about the fuel flow, and then it got stopped. This is a similar situation. Tony Formularo, good to have you in the chat, my friend. I heard on Italian media that Ferrari were going the Merc route. No, in Ferrari, what happened was, everyone believed after the 22nd of January, where the meeting with the FIA took place at Barcelona, that all the other teams were going to have to suck it up, Buttercup. Mercedes are doing what they're doing. The measurements of compression ratio was going to be ambient temperatures, which meant that Mercedes wouldn't be caught with an 18-to-1 compression ratio, because the measurement is set. It's going to be measured at ambient temperatures when the engines are cold. So everyone else was like, shit, well, we're going to have to develop our engines then. We're going to have to do something. But now the balance of power has shifted because of the meeting with the Power Unit Advisory Committee yesterday, and the fact that Red Bull powertrains have joined the petitioning, have made a supermajority now. So there's, out of all of the 5 power unit manufacturers, 4 of them are objecting and want to change the way the compression ratio is measured in order to test whether the engines are compliant with the FIA's rule of 16-to-1. So now what it means is Ferrari don't need to change their engine. It means that Audi don't need to change their engine. They will make their engine better, but however they improve the engine, you got to remember, by the 1st of March, that's when the homologation needs to be complete. That's your engine for 6 months. They can't do anything with them for 6 months after that. And that's the difference. So they won't need to. So Mercedes, if this passes, somehow will have to have a compliant engine at race temperature that doesn't produce more than a 16-to-1 compression ratio at race temperature. So now it's Mercedes' problem. How are they going to do it? I don't know how they're going to do it. So I'm going to go. So it wasn't going to be 18-to-1 more like 16.5 or 17-to-1. I mean, excuse me. I mean, I know what you're talking about there, Sulachanik. That's with if thermodynamics is going to happen. Engines will, if they're made out of aluminium, they will get hot and they will expand. Did you know though, to create an 18-to-1 compression ratio from a 16-to-1 compression ratio, the engine only has to expand by 0.5 of 1 millimeter. That's the expansion needed. That's it. And that would take you from a 16-to-1 to 18-to-1. Crazy. That's the width of a piece of paper. You're talking about small expansion for big gains. And Ferrari have gone with a steel cylinder head. And with a steel cylinder head, you don't have that. You're not going to get that expansion. But what you get with a steel cylinder head, according to Ferrari, is you get a bigger bang, you get more combustion in the engine, a stronger bang in the of burning the fuel, higher temperatures, I think. But yeah. And Josette says, interesting that Red Bull first outed Mercedes and then now sided against them. Strategy, exactly. I mean, could you imagine if this was Red Bull's plan all along? They're the one that sort of told everyone, hey, Mercedes are doing this, right? Then stood on the sidelines and then said, and then we're sort of saying that, well, we're doing it too in a lot of ways. And then completely turncoated and said, we're not doing that. But we're with you, Honda, Audi, Ferrari. Yeah, and this was a strategy to just screw over Mercedes because Mercedes thought they were getting away with it. And then at this late stage, make a super majority to change to change the way compression ratio is measured. I mean, that would be cold. Could be true. I mean, God, it could be. And that, I just seen a comment. George went from hard to soft now, I bet. Sema. Because did you know, just this week, the bookies' favourite to win the World Driver Championship was George Russell. Yesterday, because Mercedes were looking so strong. I wonder how that's going to change. Who's the favourite now? Charles Leclerc? Ferrari look good. Hammer time? Lewis Hamilton competing for an 8th World Drivers' Championship if this goes through. It could happen. It's funny. So K97235, also the FIA had another clause that rules should be followed through the course of the whole event. And this is why they can't... K97235, this is why if the FIA say somehow block the supermajority asking for a change in how the compression ratio is measured, they are even going against that rule. Because you're right, I think it was article 15.9.2 point something, which said these rules must be adhered to at all times throughout a race weekend. So how can the FIA turn around and say, no, we are not going with the petition to change the way we measure compression ratios? It would be corrupt. It would be absolutely corrupt. If the FIA don't back the supermajority for this to change, it would be absolutely corrupt. I can't see the FIA's argument for saying we are not going to change the way these are measured. Because it seems like, according to their own rules of how regulations can change, it needs a supermajority, and which they have. And I guess it needs to be a fair and reasonable argument. And they're not asking to change the rules. They really are just asking a way to change how they enforce one of their own rules to be compliant with their other rule, which is these rules need to be followed for the entire race weekend. So this really puts the FIA under the spotlight. Are the FIA corrupt? Because I cannot see an argument from the FIA to stop it. Peter Arnold says, we need full coverage of that next test. It's going to be dynamite. Exactly. We'll be on. We'll be live streaming the Bahrain test for sure. We will be, we're doing watch-alongs and I'll be watching it live at the same time. But yeah, it's absolutely bonkers. And then Josette says, Piastri will win the World Drivers' Championship before Bearman. Well, McLaren are running the Mercedes engine, so we could see Piastri and Norris way down the grid if this happens, and we could see Bearman in the Haas right up near the front. It could happen. Yes, Jericho back. Good, I see you in there, buddy. Nice to have you in the chat. If you are watching, please do smash a like on the video. And also, if you're not saying hello in the chat, get in the chat. They're a friendly bunch. Come and say hello. Tell us where you're watching from. Subchat says, if FIA doesn't pass this, then officially I'm leaving F1 and going to WEC. I mean, it is crazy. It is crazy. And if the because the only thing the FIA can be worried about is exactly what I showed you earlier, which is this guy. You know, Ola Kalenius saying he's going to take them to court, but it's tough. I mean, it's beggars belief. And the FIA are going to have to issue a statement soon I would say, what are we on now? Friday. I mean, it's got to be before we get to Bahrain. It's absolutely bonkers. So anyway, that is the Mercedes debacle. And I told you it was going to dominate most of the show, but I do want to pick up on a couple of other things. Josette says, yeah, the FIA is corrupt and this will make great content for Drive to Survive. Horner is on the sideline, so now they need another dramatic storyline. You're telling me. Nasbro, will Toto and the head of the FIA be asked to Toto Wolff won't resign because he owns a third of the team. So Toto Wolff will just suck it up, have to redesign an engine. The Michael Massey incident tells you everything you need to know about the FIA. Exactly. I mean, his decision cost Lewis, his 8th World Driver Championship. It was outrageous to let the back markers, only those back markers between Max Verstappen and Lewis to unlap themselves, not like the other. The whole thing was a complete farce. And it goes back further than that. Piastri, who was running the FIA back when Senna was racing Prost in the Tolman at Monaco, where he stops the Grand Prix because he's catching Prost in the McLaren 2 seconds a lap and orders them to stop the Grand Prix. I mean, all of that, like, it is crazy. The FIA does not have a track record, but they are under scrutiny right now. And what they do next will be telling. Oh, Toto's put a video statement out, has he? Is that right, My Cryptospace? I haven't seen it. I'm going to have to watch that after the stream. I can't wait to see what Toto has to say about that. Because actually, I spoke to Toto earlier and said, are you having a laugh, Toto?
Having a laugh. Generally, we have laughs, and that's good. We've always maintained the laughing, even when it was not so much to laugh about.
I'm not sure he's having a laugh now. But they always have a laugh at Mercedes, according to Toto. And so I don't know. But right, I've got to get on to the next story. This one's going to go on. So, right, where is it? This is a bit wild, and this is I'm bringing it in because it's a bit wild. So, Racing Bulls boss Alan Permane still isn't convinced that keeping Liam Lawson is essential. His comments coming out before the start of the 2026 season, I think this is wild, because this is what he says. Racing Bulls team principal Alan Permane still has doubts about Lawson. He doesn't believe it's essential that they keep him for 2027. I mean, this is crazy. So let's get into it. Lawson needs to eliminate his off weekends. He finished 14th or lower 6 times in his 22 starts for Racing Bulls in 25. He also retired from 5 races in 2025, with 4 of those DNFs due to damage. He says he gets involved in way too many incidents. Here's a quote from Alan Permane. What I would like from him is, I would like to get him to the stage where we want to keep him here. What? I want him to deliver so that we think, wow, we've got to hang on to this guy. He's really good. Basically saying he doesn't feel like this now. And this is what he goes on to say. The good stuff is good. It's there. And he needs to eliminate the poor, unexplained results that come. I think once he does that, the rest will start snowballing and improve. It's unusual to see any Racing Bull saying this type of stuff pre-season, because he is your driver. He's sat in that seat. And this is what he also says. Permane also says Lawson's down days are inexplicable. And I think, is this a weird way to motivate him? Because it's freaking outrageous. It is. You've got a driver who's in a seat for 27, and then you're coming out basically going, I'm not sure about you, buddy. You're in the seat, but you have too many incidents. I don't feel like I want to keep you for 27. You need to show me something. I mean, is this like a crazy way of trying to motivate your driver? If I'm Lawson and I'm reading that, I'm going, what the fuck? Right? I haven't even driven a race yet in 26. You're already saying you've got massive doubts about me. I mean, and you got Yuki Tsunoda sat in the wings, a reserve driver at Red Bull going, I'm ready to take that freaking seat. And I said this, and I put out a little video about, it was a short about, I think Liam Lawson is under pressure. And these comments prove I'm right. He actually is. I think it was a 50-50 between Lawson and Yuki. And I think Alan Permain is basically coming out saying, Lawson, you're not in a comfy seat here, buddy. If you don't perform and you have incidents, if you have contact with other cars and get some DNFs, you'll be out of your seat. You won't even make it till the end of 26, never mind 27, because I don't feel about you, Lawson, that you have convinced me that you should have a drive. Oh, Thane, super chat. Thank you so much for your super chat, Thane. Get your super chats in. I'll switch to live chat. You missed my other super chat. Did I? Have I? Oh, yeah, there it is, Thane. I've got it. Max got a taste of American muscle and gave Red Bull Racing thumbs up to screw over Merc. He said, screw Merc, I want that Mustang Dark Horse for my GT3 team. Could you imagine if Max was part of it? Everything that Toto was trying to do with Max, taking Max on his yacht, trying to get him to sign for 27, even as early as 26. And now he's gone, yeah, F Merc. I don't want that car from a GT3 team. I'll take that Mustang Dark Horse. He's obviously like falling out with Toto. I bet it was part of it, Thane. And thank you so much for your super chat, buddy. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely part of it, mate. I mean, God, he obviously doesn't give a shit. But that's Max, though. Max doesn't give a shit, does he? Max doesn't give a shit. He cares about one person and one person only, and that's Max. Yeah. Peter says, yeah, the Racing Bulls boss is only saying what we're all thinking. Lawson thinks he's better than he actually is. See, I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to lead on to what I think about Lawson. Lawson, for me, is like a rough diamond. Do I think he could turn out to be a brilliant driver? Yes. Do I think he's quick? Yes. Do I think he's aggressive? Yes. Do I think he's immature? Yes. Lawson needs to become the complete Formula One driver. He's got the basics. He's got the speed. He's got the balls. He hasn't got the maturity to make the right choices. And yes, Alan Permain is saying, I think, what a lot of us are thinking. But my question is, from a psychological point of view, is it the right thing to do? And I guess if you're a good team boss, you got to know your driver. And has he worked out that Lawson needs fear to get the best out of him rather than praise? Has Permain got it right? Is it the right noises to make? Does Lawson drive better when he's under pressure? Does Lawson drive better when he thinks I've got a point to prove? When he's not got an arm around him, someone telling him he's the best thing? And is it exactly actually what you brought up there? Is it to bring him down a peg or two? Is that what they need to do? Is Lawson overconfident? Is he too confident? And maybe that is not good for him. So is it a masterstroke from Permain? I guess we're going to find out, because they're running a Red Bull powertrain / Ford. They're not running a Mercedes powertrain. So maybe Red Bull and Racing Bulls might be up there. But yeah, I know Lawson's got a sense of arrogance about him. But you got to say Senna did. He had a sense of arrogance about him. You've got to say Michael Schumacher had a sense of arrogance about him. Lewis Hamilton had a sense of arrogance about him. Max Verstappen, sense of arrogance about him. Is this a common trait of good drivers? And do we only accept it once you're proving yourself to be a good driver? And then we accept it. Do you know what I mean? Maybe. I don't know. Gemma's on the side of of Lawson here. Gemma says that Permain shouldn't be doing it publicly. And Solanchak says, he showed in Baku qualifying his pace, but he needs to be a bit smoothed out. He's aggressive, which leads to many bad decisions. The thing about aggressive tendency in Formula One is it's a tendency that can win you races. Being brave and aggressive is good. Max Verstappen, super aggressive and brave. But if you don't control that aggression, then you're reckless and you're bad. And you cause accidents and you have collisions. So it's a powerful trait if you know how to use it correctly. It's reckless and dangerous, and you will lose your drive if you allow that aggression to take over. And I think that's what it is. And I think that's what he's got to wrestle with. And I think Lawson's got this season to do it. Otherwise, he's gone. Otherwise, he's gone. Thane says the problem with Liam is that he doesn't have the talent to back it up. I'm not convinced he hasn't yet. I'm not convinced he hasn't got the talent. I'm not convinced he has either. I think he's all potential. I think he's fast, Lawson. But obviously didn't make it work at Red Bull. But then he showed great character to be almost on par with Hadjar, I'd say, towards the end of the season in the Racing Bulls. So I think he is a 50-50. He's a coin flip. Lawson, would I be surprised if he becomes a great driver? Not really. I think he's got it in him. But would I be surprised if he busts out this season and we never see him again? No, I wouldn't be surprised at that either. He's really on that knife edge. 50-50 for me. 50-50. I can see Thane's already made his mind up on him, but he's 50-50 for me. Lawson is about to repeat 2025 and be out before Japan. Do you think so? It's a big call, that. I'm still on the fence. And exactly, so Lucianek says aggression is best when you are mature enough to channel it properly. Exactly. It's only a tool if you can control it. Dawley says, I don't know if we've already spoken about Oscar, but for me, he's going to struggle with the 26 car because he really suffered with low grip circuits in 25. Well, he did suffer with low grip circuits, but I think Oscar's noises he's making, actually, from the interviews I've seen, is he quite likes the 26 car from the noises I've seen so far from Piastri. Obviously, we need to see him in a race to see how competitive he is, but so far the noises Oscar's making is he likes the 26 car. Peter Arnold says it could be the fear of failure leading him to make bad race decisions. Or was it the fear of failure where we saw improvement in Lawson towards the end of last season? He got better, didn't he? He got better throughout the season. Oh, Reevesy says James Hunt was very much in that group. True, he was. Hunt the Shunt, as they called him. All-In says Melodano had more talent than Lawson, but was too dangerous for others. Grosjean as well had that mistake. Yeah, oh God, Grosjean was crazy aggressive. Everybody liked him as a person, didn't they, Grosjean, on the grid? But he was brave / aggressive to a fault, maybe. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Thane says, yeah, it's Lando who is struggling adapting to the 26 cars. But Oscar Piastri is quite up for it. He likes it. That's the noises I've saw anyway. But yeah, I just thought that was pretty fascinating. The psychology of it, your team boss saying that. But I don't know. I know there are Lawson fans out there. I mean, for me, it's a coin flip. It's a coin flip. It really is. And one last story, and it's only a quick one. And I just wanted to say, it was just a quick one about what Ollie Bearman has been saying. So Ollie Bearman has said the 26 energy management on the car is annoying and sad as drivers have to lift early. Now, I'm going to clarify exactly what he's been saying. But this is what Ollie Bearman had to say. So, Haas driver Ollie Bearman described the energy management needed by 2026 Formula One cars as annoying and sad. And this is what he actually said. The annoying thing is definitely the energy management, the clipping and all of these things. It's definitely more than what we've been used to. But that's a given, considering the reliance on electrical as opposed to the previous generations. It's to be expected. But actually feeling it in reality for the first time is sad. It's just one of those things. Ollie Bearman's definitely not happy about it, because he was just getting used to going balls to the wall in that Haas. And now the clipping at the end of the straight and battery management. And the thing is, this is sort of contradicting what I said earlier about the young drivers. I kind of thought the younger drivers would adapt to the 26 cars more easily. And I thought Bearman would be in that group, but it's quite clear that Bearman doesn't like it. Whereas Esteban Ocon, who's an older driver, said this. He said that wasn't too much of a problem, because what Esteban Ocon said, I'll just find his quote. He said, on quali-style runs, we are doing lift and coast. That's what the Frenchman commented. He said, that's a very new thing to do, but you know, honestly, from the simulator, it took me one run to do it, and it's actually quite odd now not to do it. So he's adapted immediately. It makes sense with the car, because if you stay full throttle, you are basically losing a lot of... You're basically putting the handbrake on at the end of the straight. And if you lift and coast, you don't lose as much, so you feel quicker. And if you lift off. So it feels quite natural because it's the fastest way to drive the cars. Obviously, it's very different to normal, but I felt that was quite natural by the end in Barcelona. Let's see another track. So when we were talking about who's going to adapt, when you got a direct comparison from the young buck, Ollie Bearman, and Esteban Ocon, who's an old hand, it's actually in their cars. It's Esteban Ocon who says, yeah, but I get it. It actually feels like the fastest way to drive the car. Lifting and coasting is okay. So maybe I'm wrong when I say I think it's going to be all the young drivers who get this right. Ollie Bearman basically saying, it's horrible. It's sad. I don't like it. Gemma says the baby Ferrari driver. Yeah, well, he'll be out in 2027. Yeah, Reevesy, very good Friday night viewing tonight, Tony. I'm glad. Well, listen, we had a lot to talk about tonight. It's been juicy with what's been going on with the Mercedes power unit, the FIA, the supermajority. Oh God, it's been a good one tonight. But all of this creating drama. Thane says just because Bearman doesn't like it doesn't mean he won't be good at it. That is also true. That's also true. Gisette Owen says, except for Ferrari, who constantly lifted and coasted throughout 2025, which is why Ferrari could be my pick now. If Mercedes' engine gets nerfed and they can't use it, I've seen how good Ferrari's engine is. It looks very reliable. Looks the quickest so far in Barcelona, if that means something or not. But the lift and coast experience for Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc means that we now could be talking about not George Russell being a favourite to win a World Drivers' Championship. It could be Leclerc versus Hamilton. It could be hammer time, baby. Oh, can you imagine the change in the story now? It could be. And those guys, you know, they're in the simulator. We're good. It's not going to be too long till we find out. Yeah, so there you go. It is fascinating. Drop Tune says, I'm actually quite a bit about all of this now. Oh, Alonso and Newey as well. Honda are back in the conversation. Newey's car. Oh, yeah, sorry, Slanch. Yeah, it's an hour. I've gone on I'm between 45 minutes and an hour. But yeah, I am wrapping up. Thank you so much. But yeah, it does. The story's going to get more exciting, more interesting. Let's find out what the FIA... Are the FIA going to reveal themselves as total crooks in all of this? Oh, the story gets juicy. We're going to follow it all. I will be back with that, I'm sure. TC, Droptune says TC Ferrari will still engineer a screw up. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe they get it right in 26. It's been a great show tonight, guys. Thank you to all of you who have been in the chat. It's been so much fun. Yeah, Droptune, I'm going to try and do one Sunday night, but it's not guaranteed. Watch out. I will put a post up. It's I'm going to try. I'm definitely back Monday night as usual, but I'm going to try for Sunday night. But thank you to every single one of you who's been in the chat tonight. You made the show really, really good fun. Smash a like on the video if you haven't already. I will see you either Sunday night for an added one, but definitely Monday night, 7:30. Enjoy your weekend. And yeah, it's been a good one tonight. I'm going to go and get a nice hot toddy. Ta-ta.